In this screencast, I'm going to show you how to use Adobe Bridge to organize a PDF of a series of photographs. I'm also going to show you how to do a batch rename and then just exporting that PDF. So I'm going to start with a group of images on my desktop, and just to sort of show it there, I've got a folder called Images, and inside I have 8 what are these JPEG images? These are JPEG images of Anna Atkins's cyanotype prints from the Wikipedia site. And I am going to, you'll see these are called 01, 02, 03, 04, 05, 06, 07, 08. And I'm going to go and find those in Bridge. The first place that I find people get a little confused in Bridge is just sort of knowing where they are. It seems like a big screen with a lot of information, and it can be a little overwhelming at first. But what we want to look at is basically just finding your files. So when you launch Bridge, you may see a Favorites tab, or you may see the Folders tab. Usually the Favorites one is there and open, and you should have a kind of one-click access to your desktop. But if you don't, you can definitely find it in your folders. You may, if you're on a Mac like me, you may have to go into Users and then your name, and then from there into your desktop. Once you find your folder, then I think things get a little bit easier. So I'm going to take a look inside my Images folder. I can see there are my images. I'm in Essentials mode right now, so the workspace is Essentials, so I can see my content in this middle area. And if you look kind of down to the lower right, there's a zoom feature, so I can scroll here and I can sort of make my image sort of files a bit larger or smaller, depending on how many I want to see on my screen at once. As I click just once on each image, I can see a preview of the image and then metadata. Metadata is basically information about the file, such as the file name, the type of file, the file size, the dimensions, the color space, the resolution. This kind of stuff is really important sometimes, and it's nice not to have to open, especially a very large file, just to find out some of this information. Now I'm going to pretend that I would like to rename these files. Actually, I'm going to decide that I want to rename these files. You may have opened files from your camera, and a lot of times your camera will name your files something like DCS or DSC, and then some series of numbers that sort of makes no real sense in terms of what the content of the images are. So I will choose all of my images in this folder, and I'm going to do that by clicking on the first image and then holding the Shift key and clicking on the last image. If I want to choose all of the images in one folder, I can use the hotkey Command A on a Mac, Control A on a PC. And if I want all but one or two, I can hold down the Command key and sort of deselect. Again, on a PC it would be the Control key. I'm going to go ahead and again hold the Command and reselect those because I would like all images selected. And from here I will choose Tools from the Tools menu, and then Batch Rename, the very first action under the Tools menu. And inside the Batch Rename dialog box, I'm going to, this is a little bit risky, but I'm going to rename my files and save them in the same folder. I'm going to give them a new name, not Mom and Dad Skype. I'm going to call them Anna Atkins, and I'm going to give them a sequence number. There are 8 of them, so I could just give them a single-digit number, but I feel a little safer with 2 digits. So I'm going to call them Anna Atkins 01, 02, 03, 04, and you can see my current file name was 01.jpg, and the new file is going to look like this. If I wanted to, alternatively, I could put my first initial last name and then my sequence number, so something like that. Okay, when I press rename, it's going to, just in an instance, rename all of my files according to what I just declared in that box. Once my files are renamed, I want to save them as a single PDF file. So I would like to create one PDF file that has each of these images on a separate page, one on a page, in a relatively large-ish size. Some people like to create a contact sheet or a thumbnail sheet where they would put lots of small images. In this case, I would like to sort of be able to share my images in a way that would be a little bit easier to read and see. So to make my my PDF file, I'm going to choose the output workspace. You can see up here you have these different workspaces. You can also choose, if you don't see the buttons in the application bar, you can also choose the window menu and then workspace and then output. or you could just click right on the word output. In the output workspace, my favorites and folders remains here on the left side. A couple things flip-flop here. My content goes to the bottom of the screen and I get a sort of preview in this top area. And then more importantly, or I'd say most importantly, on the right side I have the output tab. Right now all of my files are selected. If I deselect just by clicking out here, nothing shows up in the preview area. I want to select all of the images that I would like to include in my PDF. So in my case, that's actually all of my images. If I were making a PDF where I only wanted to show a few of these, again, on my Mac, I'll hold the Command key and deselect some of the files, and then this would give me a PDF of just these selected 5 files. I will press Command A to quickly select all, and then I'm going to look in my Output tab. Now I want to output a PDF, so I'm going to just touch once on the PDF button. And then in the layout area, I'm going to make some choices. Now mine, because I was last looking right in this area, it's sort of scrolled down, but you can see there's a scroll bar here on the far right side. So I'll scroll all the way up and I'm going to choose US Paper as my page preset at letter size. That might be the default, so you may have that already selected. For quality, I'm going to choose sort of mid-range quality, 150 ppi. Really, 72 ppi would be fine in terms of just seeing the image on the screen. I'm going to give it a little bit more. I don't need to include the full 300 ppi or dpi on this file. So I'm going to go there. With quality, I'll always put that all the way at the top as much as it can be. The background is white. I do not need a password. I'm sharing this freely. I'm going to scroll down a little bit though, and I do want to make some choices here. I'm going to have just one row and one column. That means that I only want to see one image on the page. You could make several rows and columns if you wanted to stack lots of smaller images on the page, but I would like to just do one up. And then again, if I scroll a little bit more where it says overlays, I will include the file name and the extension in an easy to read font at a somewhat smallish size in black. That way, when I'm looking at the file, I can reference them by the name of the file instead of saying, you know, the one with all the squigglies, or you know, the one that sort of leans to the right. It's a little bit easier to talk specifically about Anna Atkins 05.jpg. I'm going to skip headers and footers. I don't really need any of that. I don't need a watermark, so everything else as I scroll down I'm just going to skip. I will press the View PDF After Save button just so I can easily see what I make, and then I'll press the Save button. When I press the Save button, Bridge prompts me to tell it where I'm saving, so I'm going to go right back to the desktop and right back to my Images folder, and I'm going to save this as my AnnaAtkins.pdf file. And as I press Save, Bridge will prepare this PDF for me. It does call it a PDF contact sheet. In the old versions of Bridge, or old versions rather of Photoshop, this would have been called a contact sheet. Now we're just sort of making a PDF. I'm going to zoom out so you can see what's on my screen. I'm actually going to resize my window here. This is my PDF file, and I can see, now I will actually zoom in. I can see when I zoom in that my image is there and the name of the file is right beneath the image. Okay, so I just show you that. Now if I go down, you can see all 8 pages are here. And this is a really great way to use Bridge to create some output media that you can share with other people, and a nice way to share the photographs that you create.